Strategy Management Series. Video number 112 Strategy Formulation. Step 7 Strategy Evaluation. Step-by-step guide to Nash Equilibrium. Welcome back to the Ready MBA series on strategy management. In our previous sessions, we delved into strategy evaluation, the crucial seventh step of the strategy formulation process. This stage entails scrutinizing potential strategies for their impact, benefits, costs, and resource requirements. We also discussed game theory, a technique for predicting competitors' moves in a competitive situation, and how it can be used by the planning team to refine their strategic analysis. One of the primary benefits of game theory is its ability to help decision-makers anticipate the potential outcomes of different strategies and understand the ripple effects of their choices. This is especially valuable during strategy formulation and evaluation, as it allows planners to simulate various scenarios and assess the best course of action. We introduced the concept of simultaneous moves games, where players make decisions at the same time without knowing the other's moves. These games often involve creating a strategy that considers all possible outcomes based on each player's actions. To find the optimal strategy, planners look for a dominant strategy that consistently provides a better or equal outcome than all other strategies, regardless of what the opponent does. When both players have clear dominant strategies, the combination where they intersect in the payoff table becomes the likely outcome. In some games, there are no dominant strategies where one strategy is always the best regardless of what the other player does. Instead, players must consider the potential choices of others and then determine their best response. This is where Nash Equilibrium comes in. A Nash Equilibrium is a concept in game theory where each player's strategy is the best response to the other player's strategy. In other words, once in a Nash Equilibrium, no player has an incentive to change their strategy, as doing so would not improve their outcome. This equilibrium can be a powerful tool for understanding the optimal strategies in competitive situations. In this video, we will present a step-by-step guide explaining how the planning team can identify and analyze Nash equilibrium in games without dominant strategies. Step 1. Identify the game and the players. Identify the context of the game and the players involved. Determine what the players are trying to achieve and the choices they have. For example, consider a pricing strategy game where two companies, Company A and Company B, must set prices for a similar product in a competitive market. Each company can set a high or low price, impacting their market share and profitability. Step 2. Create a payoff matrix. Create a payoff matrix to represent the game and analyze the strategies. The rows represent the strategies of one player, e.g., Company A, and the columns represent the strategies of the other player, e.g., Company B. Step 3. Estimate and assign payoffs. Estimate the payoffs associated with each combination of strategies. Consider the potential revenue, costs, market share, or strategic benefits resulting from each outcome. The planning team may need to develop business models and financial projections to estimate the payoffs for each combination of strategic moves. In our pricing example, payoffs could be the expected profits for each company, depending on the pricing strategies they choose. If both companies choose a high price, both Company A and Company B will get $9 million in profits. If Company A sets a low price while Company B sets a high price, Company A earns a profit of $8 million, while Company B earns a profit of $7 million. Conversely, if Company A sets a high price while Company B sets a low price, Company A earns a profit of $7 million, while Company B earns a profit of $8 million. If both companies set low prices, they each earn a profit of $8 million. Step 4. Assess the payoff matrix for dominant strategies. Determine if there are dominant strategies for any player. A dominant strategy consistently provides a better payoff than other strategies, regardless of the opponent's moves. Starting with Company A, we compare the rows of the matrix, checking A's payoffs in one row against the other rows. The aim is to see if there's a row where all of A's payoffs are greater than the payoffs in the corresponding cells of other rows. If we identify such a row, it would then represent Company A's dominant strategy. In this example, as we can see, there are no dominant strategies for Company A, since 9 is greater than 8, but 7, the other payoff in the same row, is not greater than 8. This means that Company A cannot make a decision independently of Company B. It needs to consider what B would be doing and then define its best response to it. Now, let's look at Company B. We'll do the same comparison, but this time, we'll focus on all the columns. We'll compare the payoff values in corresponding cells across different columns. When we compare the values in the two columns, we see that 9 is greater than 8, but 7, the other payoff in the same column, is not greater than 8. Therefore, B is in a similar position to that of A. It does not have a dominant strategy, so it cannot take a decision without considering what the other player will do. Step 5. Assess the payoff matrix for dominated strategies. Dominated strategies are those whose payoffs are lesser than the payoffs for all of the other strategies. This means that they should not be adopted, as players will be worse off. Identifying dominated strategies is helpful, especially in more complex games, because they can be removed from the payoff matrix, making it smaller and simpler to be analyzed. The process is similar to that for dominant strategies. Compare payoffs across strategies, row by row, or column by column. The dominated strategy will have the lowest payoffs when compared to the corresponding cells in the other rows, or in the other columns. In this example, there are no dominated strategies, so no rows or columns would be disregarded from the table. Step 6. Identify the best strategy based on Nash equilibrium. If there are no dominant strategies in a game, there is not a single strategy that maximizes profits for either player independently of the other's actions. This means that potential strategies must consider your opponent's potential moves before deciding on your own. The planning team must look for a Nash equilibrium, a set of strategies, one for each player, where no player has an incentive to change their strategy given the strategy chosen by the other player. It's a point of stable decision-making. This is done through a best response analysis. A best response refers to the strategy that yields the highest payoff for a player, given the strategies chosen by the other players in the game. Essentially, the best response is the optimal move for a player in response to the anticipated actions of the opponents. In our example, the best response analysis means looking at each cell of the matrix and asking, if my competitor chooses X, high or low price, what is my best response, high or low price? If Company A sets a high price, top row, B's best response is also to set a high price because it leads to the highest profit for both. This is a Nash equilibrium. When both companies choose high prices, they have no incentives to change their strategies. It is a stable point for both. Sometimes games can have more than one equilibrium, so check the other cells, making similar questions. So, for instance, if Company A sets a low price, bottom row, and B keeps a high price, B will be worse off, and will have an incentive to change its strategy to a low price. This is not a stable point. And if B chooses low prices while A keeps high prices, in this case A will be worse off. Company A will then have an incentive to also adopt a low price strategy. Therefore, this is not an equilibrium as well. Low prices is the best response for both companies when their rival opts for the same. It creates a situation of balance where neither has an incentive to change their strategy considering the other player's action. This is another Nash equilibrium for the game, and it illustrates an important point. A Nash equilibrium doesn't always lead to an ideal outcome for either player. Both players would have better outcomes if they both aimed for high prices, but this is a strategy that would require trust and coordination among players to execute, which is not always easy to achieve. Such situations are commonly known as prisoners' dilemmas, and we will talk more about them in an upcoming episode. Step 7. Evaluate strategic implications. With the best response strategy identified, evaluate the broader strategic implications for the players. Consider how this strategy aligns with their overall goals and whether there are any risks or trade-offs involved. This evaluation helps ensure that the chosen strategy is robust and sustainable. Also consider potential variations or uncertainties that might affect the strategy's effectiveness. Test the strategy against different scenarios to ensure its resilience in the face of changing conditions or unexpected moves by competitors. Step 8. Implement and monitor. Once the best response strategy is identified, it can be implemented in practice. Continuous monitoring is crucial to ensure that the strategy remains effective as conditions change. This monitoring allows players to adjust their strategies as needed based on new information or evolving market dynamics. By following this step-by-step guide, you can conduct a comprehensive Nash equilibrium and best response analysis, providing valuable insights for strategic decision-making and allowing for effective planning in competitive environments. And this concludes our episode about the step-by-step guide to analyze games with simultaneous moves through best response strategies. Please join us in our next episode where we will continue our discussion about game theory. Until then, keep strategizing. See you soon.